Winter exposes bad gear and it's going to expose it fast. Before you know it, if you're not prepared, you're going to end up dealing with soaked feet, numb fingers, and losing body heat a lot faster than what you were planning for. So what I'm going to do in this episode is I'm going to break down for you the gear that I absolutely bring on different adventures in the wintertime, but I'm not going to do it as some long drawn out gear list because that can feel overwhelming. So I'm going to break this down for you into scenarios to make sure you know exactly what you need based on what you're going to be facing. You ready for this? Let's go. Hey, and welcome to today's episode of Explore This. I'm your host, Jen Ahana, where I love taking you to the hidden gems where the crowds don't go. And sometimes to do that, we've got to actually look at what we're doing behind the scenes to make those adventures happen. Now, when it's wintertime, I love hiking out in the snow. I love hiking out in the cold, but that doesn't mean it's not going to take more prep to get ready for it, because I have also been in very dodgy scenarios where I wish I would have brought more, packed differently, packed lighter, or had one essential piece of gear I was so grateful that I put into my pack. Scenario one is when the trail turns to ice at elevation. Now, this is what's going to happen in the shoulder seasons, typically in the mountains. So when you are going from fall to winter, winter to spring, and you're dealing with those temperature changes where all of a sudden you're getting more sleet and snow as it leads into winter, or on the opposite, and it's doing the same going into the spring, and when the snow starts to melt, trail conditions could get horrific. And I have experienced this in places where I would have least expected. I'm not talking high altitude passes. I'm talking places like Sedona, where there are areas in Arizona that when the snow melts and it's in areas where the sun doesn't hit the rocks, you are going to have the thinnest layer of ice on areas of rock where you cannot get absolutely any grip, no matter how good of traction you have on your boots. So skipping the obvious, you obviously need good hiking boots for the wintertime. There's a couple of things that you absolutely cannot go without. The first is going to be proper poles. I don't care how sure-footed you are. Sometimes you're going to wish you had 4 legs instead of 2. And my favorite poles are the ones that are collapsible. Black Diamond has a great option. REI has a great option where you can collapse them down. That way, you don't have to worry about your poles sticking out in an awkward way in your backpack or trying to stuff them in somewhere. They just collapse really neatly so you can have them tucked into one of your side pockets or even in your pack, and then they're easy to open up when you need them. But the thing you absolutely should not go without when you expect that trail conditions could be shifting a lot are micro spikes. And there are a lot of different options out there where you can put added traction on your shoes, lots of different brands, lots of different options. Personally, if I'm going to be putting on micro spikes, I want to get as close to mountaineering crampons as I possibly can, which is why I love 𝗘𝗫𝗄𝗎 micro spikes. I have used my 𝗘𝗫𝗄𝗎s for years. They have withstood the test of time in really rough conditions. And these things, if you look at them, they grip. They are filled with metal spikes that you can put all the way along the bottom of your boots. And the fit is snug, so they're not going everywhere. And there is nothing more satisfying and more secure than feeling your feet step onto the ice and the crunch of the spikes hitting it. You're going to have so much more traction than what you would have had previously, and you're going to feel like you could practically go on any type of icy terrain. Micro spikes will not only keep you safe, they're going to open up an entirely new world of terrain for you, no matter what the season is. Scenario 2 is when the weather shifts fast. This is going to happen a lot. It's going to happen a lot in the wintertime, and odds are it's going to happen when you least expect it, and it can be the worst and scariest feeling. The first thing that you absolutely got to make sure you have is a really solid base layer system, and it is not good enough to have just one base layer. I learned this the hard way in 𝗙𝗪𝗏 National Park when I was left with one soaked base layer, and I had to take time warming in a warming hut. Otherwise, I couldn't risk losing the body heat putting a wet base layer back on. Have a backup base layer in your pack so it's ready to go to keep you warm. The second thing that you're going to want to have, in addition to an extra layer like a fleece, some level of outer layer to put over your base, you need to have a waterproof shell. And it cannot say water resistant. It has to be waterproof, and it has to be 4-season. And you have to make sure that your shell is easily accessible. I've seen hikers, including myself, make the mistake of stashing the shell on the bottom, thinking, okay, I've got it just in case. But the worst thing that could happen is if you get caught in instant sleet or snow and your clothes instantly become soaked, because fleece isn't water resistant and neither is a base layer, you got to have your shell that you can access within seconds. You should either put it on your outside pouch or put it in the brain of your backpack, that top pocket, so it's easy to just pull on out. The next is lighting. When the weather changes, so does the light. And the last thing that you can put yourself in is a position where you're trying to have good footing, and now you're fumbling around with your phone, turning on the flashlight option, just trying to get some sense of where you're going, especially if you know that you're going to be hiking in dawn or it's staying too late and you're falling into those dusk hours and losing light fast. And in wintertime, the days are already short enough, so you have to have a headlamp. It's non-negotiable. It's one of the smallest pieces of gears you can bring. It's one of the lightest pieces of gears you can bring. And same thing, put it on the top of your pack so it's easy to access. The next thing you absolutely want to have is some form of power. 2 forms ideally. One is going to be a power bank in your backpack. I personally love one from BioLite because this thing is a beast. It can take multiple charges if needed, but it also can be a little bit heavy. So some type of power bank that's going to give you at least enough for one charge should be more than sufficient unless you're going out on a multi-day adventure. Now, ideally, what you're also going to want to have is a source of power in your vehicle, because your phone could be fine and then get to that last 10%. And then when you finally get to your vehicle, you're thinking, okay, I just want to charge this up in my car and I'll be fine. But it takes forever to charge using the car's charger. A Jackery is one of my most favorite tools to actually use because it gives you an instant power bank that will charge your devices fast. And there are all different types of models from them where you can charge multiple devices at once, multiple levels of power, but it's going to give you that peace of mind because you're going to know that you're not only going to have the charge on the trail with the power bank, but you can quickly charge it once you get back to your vehicle and making your way back home or maybe to your next adventure. Another great thing here to think about is if you don't have alltrails yet, make sure you get alltrails, and I highly recommend the peak level because that's going to give you the option of when you're looking at trail conditions to add in the overlay feature that will show the precipitation, the trail conditions, the weather, the snow coverage, so you get a much better sense of what you should bring with you and what you should expect. Scenario 3, I think, is one of the worst case scenarios, and it's probably going to surprise you. It's when your water freezes. Think about how easy it is when you're out on a summer hike and you've got just a regular water bottle or you've got a water bladder with the tubing, and it's a really easy direct access of water. But those materials are not designed to handle temperatures below freezing. And the worst feeling you could possibly have is being cold, tired, exhausted to the bone, and thirsty. And the last thing that you are thinking about is how difficult it'll be to have a sip of water because you have a couple of liters in your pack. And then when you try to take a sip out of your hydration bladder, you realize it's all frozen. So now you're just ending up trying to dig out the ice, slushy style. So when you are winter hiking, you need to bring something insulated that is going to hold your water or other liquids that you're carrying with you. Personally, I love Yetis. I love Yetis because they will keep the cold cold and the hot hot. So one of my most favorite things to do when I'm out hiking is to fill a 32-ounce or bigger size Yeti with hot tea so that every time you take a sip, you can actually feel your body warm on the inside. It's one of the simplest things you can do. The only downfall to it is that the Yeti weighs more than a hydration bladder, but it's going to be worth it because you're going to be able to stay warm longer, which means you're out on the trails longer. And just to add a little proof to this as well, I literally have my Yeti with me all of the time. This is a 40 ounce, and right now it has water with electrolytes in it, which is also a great option. But if I'm going out there in the snow, I want tea, I want warm, I want hot, and I do not want a water bladder at all. Scenario number 4, you get so exhausted that you need to stop and take a break. Now, that's fine and all in other seasons when you want to stop, rest, hydrate, if your water's not frozen, and among other things, just take a break. But when you want to take a break in the wintertime, it's not as easy. Where are you going to sit when it's covered in snow, or the trail's filled with ice, or there's sleet pouring down on you? If you're going to take a minute to rest, because you absolutely need to, you need to have extra layers readily available that you can put on right away. What you could ultimately do is you could actually put that extra layer on a few minutes before you take a break, move in it, warm it up, obviously still have the shell on. Then when you sit, you're going to be able to have that body heat stored and protected. It's going to be a lot easier for you to take a break. You can also bring with you, because you just never know if you're going to need it, an emergency blanket. One of those things that's going to pack up to the size of a pillowcase or a washcloth, and you can have it with you as a way to have an extra thermal layer just in the event that you need it, maybe because perhaps you can't even move further because the conditions are so bad. Couple of little things, couple of ounces in your pack makes all the difference. And do not underestimate the power of having a neck gaiter. I absolutely love the Buff brand because their patterns are so fun and they're vibrant and they can be location specific. But most of all, they're versatile and highly functional. They're a great way to have an extra layer of protection around your neck. One of those layers that oftentimes we forget about, or maybe we don't want to deal with some bulky scarf that's taking up extra weight and space. But you can use a neck gaiter to wrap around your face, around your neck, pull it up over your head and your ears just so you get that added layer of protection. Again, a super small thing to add to the pack. The next scenario, and this is probably the worst possible scenario you can deal with in the wintertime, is when you need to bail. And typically that's going to happen because you're losing light way too fast or the weather conditions are shifting to such a detrimental degree that it is literally impossible and unsafe to keep going. So you better make sure that you have a couple of things. Bring more food than what you plan because you burn way more calories in the wintertime because your metabolic rate is a lot faster just trying to keep your body warm. Make sure that it is food that is easy to digest, quick sugar, quick protein, quick fat, things that you can quickly get into your system. Something as simple as a protein bar and some electrolytes can buy you a couple of hours of time of energy that you absolutely need. Speaking of, electrolytes should be really a separate item in addition to food. Having some type of electrolyte packet, I don't care if you just down a packet in your mouth and then add the swig of tea from your Yeti just to get the electrolytes that you need for the energy to keep going. This is also where having your trail maps is so helpful because let's say you're losing light and you have a harder time seeing where the trail is. If you can pull up alltrails and you can actually pull up the map so you're able to follow it with your headlamp on, you know where to go. Having that map already downloaded before you start the hike is going to be instrumental because the scariest thing that can happen is if you're out there somewhere in the middle of nowhere and you have no cell phone reception, which means you can't access your map. Now, I share all of this with you to help you be really prepared. I like to be prepared. Sometimes I overthink. Some would say I overthink to my detriment. But when it comes to scenarios like this, you need to make sure that you're prepared for any scenario. And you're going to realize that if you have a simple gear list readily available that you can use as a checklist, you're going to realize it's not going to make your pack that much heavier, but you're going to be prepared for all of these different scenarios. Also, make sure you check out some of the other items here on my gear playlist. This goes down to specific items I love, apps that I love, gear that I love to use to make sure that you have everything that you need to be a well-rounded, ready to go explorer to go out there and hit the trail. Thanks for being here with me. Go ahead and click to watch that next, and I'll see you out there.